Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Patterson and I work in the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning in MTU Cork. And today's session is on Vevox Hidden Gems. So I'm just going to go straight to covering what I'll be covering in today's session. So the first thing I'll do obviously is tell you what Vevox is and how you can use it. But just to explain that this session is not going to go over the basics of Vevox, and it's more like, as the title says, hidden gems. So things that you might not know about Vevox if you have used it before. But if you are brand new to Vevox, I'd say still stay and watch the session so you can see what kind of cool things you can do with it that you might not have thought of. So I'll be covering different things like different question types, so not just the multiple choice or text-based questions. Vevox recently added presentation content, so you can do kind of like presentation slides in Vevox now. It also has a new feature called Spin the Wheel, so I'll show you how to use that. Vevox has a question library you can use, basically templated questions that you can use. So I'll show you that and if it's useful for you. Another kind of recent addition to Vevox is AI questions and quizzing. So I'll cover how that works and how you can use it, and also, things that you should think of if you're going to use it, because obviously there can be some errors with AI. Then also I could show you that you can import questions from a file with Vevox. So if you want to write questions ahead in an Excel file and then import them, you can do that with Vevox. I think that's a slightly recent feature as well. And then I think the most recent feature that they released was scheduling surveys and quizzes. So if you have a survey or a quiz that you only want to be available within a certain time frame and you don't want to have to remember to turn it on and off, you can now schedule it. And then I'll also show you that there's a leaderboard that you can use when you're doing quizzes as well. And then finally, at the end, I'm going to show you the supports that we have and also that Vevox has for when you're using Vevox. And as I said, this isn't covering the basics of Vevox, but we did do a session last semester on that. And I'll just send you a link to that session in our follow-up email. And also we have plenty of resources on all the things to do with the basics of Vevox that I'll send on as well. So first things first, what is Vevox? So Vevox is an audience engagement tool that MTU staff can use for live polling, quizzes, Q&As, surveys. It can be live or asynchronous. And when I say asynchronous, I mean like people can do it in their own time, basically. And then it also can be in person or online. So you could have it on, you could have Vevox showing on a screen in a lecture hall, for instance, and your students can join on their phones or on their tablets or laptops, or you could do it through, a Zoom class or something like that. It also doesn't just have to be used with your students. You could be running an event, or you could use it, with a team meeting maybe if you wanted to. So it doesn't just have to be something you're using for teaching and learning. And also Vevox can be used either through the Vevox website, or you can also use it in Canvas. So when you're using it in Canvas, that will generally be when you're sending your students asynchronous self-paced quizzes or surveys. So they're able to access them through Canvas and they don't have to live join Vevox, basically. So without further ado, I'm going to exit out of this PowerPoint and get straight into the demo. Also, if you have any questions as we're going along, feel free to leave them in I think we have a Q&A tab, and then I can get to them at the end of the session. So I'm just going to exit out of here, and you can see I have Vevox open here. What I'll do actually, just for people who might be new to Vevox or haven't used it in a while, is log out and just show you. So mtu.vevox.com is the link for getting to Vevox for MTU staff. And you might notice we have this login with SSO button here. And that means that now all staff are able to access Vevox without having to request TEL, make an account for them. You just log in with single sign-on, which is the same thing we use to log into Canvas or to Outlook, etc. So you just click in on the login with SSO, And because I'm already logged into Canvas, it automatically logged me in there. But if you are logging in for the first time that day, it might prompt you to log in as you would to Canvas or Outlook or any of those other tools. And then I'd see all of my sessions that I have. So again, I'm not going to go over the basics of creating a session. That was done in another session, and I'll send you that link. I'm going to get straight into the hidden gems part of the session. So this is our training January 2026 that I made ready for this session. And I'm just going to cover. So the first thing is word cloud. So this is probably one you might have heard of, but in case you haven't. And first I'm going to demo it and then I'll show you how you can use it. So a word cloud basically means you can ask a question and then as people answer, they come up in sort of a word cloud image. So I'm just going to open the presenter view. So instead of clicking present full screen, I've learned that it's better to do it in a new tab so I can still switch back to this tab whenever I want. So I'll click present view in a new tab. And as we have some people in the session today, I'm actually going to ask you to participate in this poll. So you can either scan here, but what I'm going to do since we're all online is send you a link so it's easiest. So if I just go back here, I'll show you how that's done. I just do copy app link here, and I'm just going to paste that into the chat now for everybody. So 1 second. So if you click that link, and I'm going to show you what it'll look like for me as well. So if I copy the app link, I can paste it right here. And here we are. It should look something like this. And at the moment, we don't have any polls or anything running. So that's what it'll look like for you on your screen as well. So now I'll go into my present view and I'm going to open the first poll, which is our word cloud poll. So we have a question. So it's what's your favorite holiday you've ever been on? And I can see that there are 6 people who have logged in. So if you just go ahead and answer the question, and I'll do it myself as well. So I'm just going to type in, I went to Japan in 2019, so I'll put that down and click send. And then you can see nothing's come up at the moment because I don't have the results appearing. So I can just click show results. And then you can see everybody's answers coming up in a cloud. So that's quite good. And you can see now, I can see California has come up large. That usually means if more than one person has answered the same question, that increases the size of an answer. So that's pretty useful for like gauging um, different things on a topic, maybe. So you could see the popularity of an answer on a topic, maybe, if multiple people answer the same thing. So that's quite cool for showing the word cloud. So I'm just going to close that poll now and show you how you can set it up. And you'll notice I have an image here as well, so I show you how it can do that. So if I just go back into the Vevox session here, and I'm going to click add content. You see here all the basic question types that I've covered before, but here's word clouds. Just click word cloud, and you simply, all you have to do is type in a question. So I'm just going to say, where in the world are you from? And you could see I had an image with it as well. And what's quite cool with Vevox is you can upload an image, so you could find an image and upload it. But Vevox itself has a whole library. So the image I had, I'm sure I just typed in holiday or something and found that image. So if I just say uh, maybe globe here, that seems like a nice picture. I can just click that, click save. And when I click create, then I have the word cloud and it will work just the same as the one I showed just now. So the next one I'm going to show you is pin on image. And there's a couple of ways you can use it. So again, hopefully you still have that link open or you can open it again. And we're going to switch to that. So I'll go back into the presenter view and go to the next poll. So I have a question here. It's what's the best county in Ireland, Dublin or Cork? So It's up to you to answer by selecting those from those two options. And it's funny because I'm from Galway and I didn't put that down as an option. But you can just see these options are the only ones that you can select from. If I just go and go in myself as well, I can choose between them. I can either click on it here or I can click on it down here. So I don't want to click Dublin, I want to click Cork because I do live here. And then there's no submit button for these pin on image ones. You just click on it, and if you want to change your answer, you click clear. And again, when I'm ready, I can just click show results, and here we've got 100% Cork, so no surprises there. And then I'll show you how you can set that one up. So I'm just going to close that full too, and go back in. So again, add content, and this one is a pin on image one. So you can ask a question. So I'm just going to say, where in Ireland do you live, for instance? And then that could be a free form pinning. So you see there's free form pinning or pin on choice. So that question with the Dublin and Cork was a pin on choice, where I added that map of Ireland and I gave the two options. But free form pinning, if I click add content and I already have this recently uploaded and I add that in, then people can add anywhere. Or if I say, where is Galway on the map, and make it a quiz question, then again, just I can either give people a choice between options, or I could do free form pinning, add that image again, and I can then identify what the correct answer is. So you can see here it says correct answer areas optional. So I'm just going to highlight. So there's a couple of ways you can do it as a rectangle or an ellipsis. So I'm just going to highlight around Galway. And the only thing about this is it's not going to be 100% accurate because of this, because it's an ellipsis and you're not getting, the borders of Galway there. But you could just ask people, make sure you're clicking right in the middle or around the middle of the county so that they do get it correct. So it's around there. Not exactly sure of the borders of Galway, but something like that. And then click done. And then that's a quiz question, and then people can click and they'll get it right or wrong, basically. So that's quite a cool thing that you can use. And then the last one is a demographic type question. And this is an interesting one. It's basically where you can divide the group that you're presenting to, your audience, basically, by a demographic. So you create the demographic by asking a question, and then you can see how that demographic answers other questions, basically. So I'll show you what I mean by that by going to the next question. So here we go. We've got, are you a cat person or a dog person? And so we've got cat, dog, or neither. So I'm just going to answer that myself as well. So I have a cat. I'm a cat person. I'm going to leave that in. And I'll just wait a second. And then so you can choose between here, and you can see I even was able to put little pictures beside the options. So you don't just have to have an image for the question. You can have images for certain answers as well, which is kind of cool. And again, I just used the stock photos that Vevox had. So then I just close the poll when it's ready. And then we can see we've got more dog people than cat people. And I think when we get to the next question, you'll be able to see how dog people and cat people answer differently to that. So if I go to the next poll, which do you prefer, working in a team or working alone? And again, this is all anonymous as people are doing this, so don't worry about that. So I'm just going to say working alone, and then click that, and then we'll just wait. I think everybody has answered. So then if I click show results, so we've got, if I now go back to the previous question, it should show the demographic. Now it has been a little bit janky for me. If I go back to the previous one here, yes. I think I can do it. Hold on. It should work. Hold on, maybe it was on the next one. 1 second. Sorry, guys. worked before. Oh, here we go. Demographic. It seems like you have to go back out of it and then both go back in. So then you can show the demographic split, and we can see that more dog people prefer working in teams than working alone. So that's very interesting. So if you wanted to do something like that, you could test it out, and you can see how your demographics are answering questions basically. And so those are all the sort of different question types that you can use. And now the next thing I'm going to show you is adding presentation content. So I'm just going to go back in here and show you how to do that. So I click add content again. You can see there's a non-polling content section that has two features in it, and these are both quite new. So we've got presentation content and spin the wheel, and I'm going to show you both of those today. So the first one is presentation content. So this is basically like adding a slide if you were using PowerPoint, except it's a little bit more basic than PowerPoint, really. It doesn't have as many features as PowerPoint does. But it just means you don't have to leave Vevox and open up a PowerPoint and go back and forth, basically. So you have like your text that you can add here and all the different basic text editing tools. And you can also add images and videos. So if I just add an image, again, I'm just going to use the image library. I'll put in a random one. And then I can just add in some text. So presentation title, just put in, click create. And then if I do show content, this is what it'll look like when you're showing to students. So as you're going through your polls, you could push a slide between them. And also if you want to move things, if you're making things, I'm just going to stop it for now. If you're making stuff and you want to change the order, that's very easy to do too. So just as long as it's not displaying, you can click on the options icon here, click move, and then you can move the question to any part. So then it'll come in a different part of the order, basically. So that's how you do it if you're adding an image. Also, if you want to add a video, it's just the same button here. And I'll just show you, you can click this video icon here. And these are the supported video providers. I would say YouTube and Vimeo would be the ones you'd use most often. So I just have our Tell YouTube channel open, and I'm just going to pick a random video here and then copy it. And then what I can do is paste that link here and click OK. And there we have the video. I'll click create. Then I can click show content. And you can see now it's showing in the Vevox presenter view. Now it's not going to show on your device if you're a student or if you're in the audience, because it's assumed that you're watching the present view that the host is showing. So only really stuff that you're interacting with shows on that device or on the participant app, as you might call it. Okay, so then I'll move on. The next thing I'm showing you is the spin the wheel feature. So if I click add content and click spin the wheel, this is where you can have a list of things or people and then basically spin a wheel to pick from them. So you've probably seen things like this on other tools or other places. So I'm just going to say maybe you have a class with a list of students and they all have to present, and you want to pick a random order for them to present. Or you could say you're going to cover a certain topic, but you have a list of topics and then it'll pick it at random. You can use it for basically anything. So I'm just going to call this one presentations, and then I'll put in a bunch of names. So we've got Brian, Sharon, Steve, Martha, and Ken. I'll just say. Then I click create. And then I'm just going to click show content here and go into the present view. And you can see we've got a wheel here. And basically you just click spin when you're in the session. It'll spin. And for me, it's playing a sound, but I don't have the sound for my screen playing for you. But if you were doing it, you'd hear the sound. And then you can have it so that you remove that name or whatever it is topic from the list. And then you can spin again until you get through everyone in the list, basically. So that's kind of a cool feature if you want to use something like that. You can also reset it here as well. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to show is, I'll just dismiss that, is the question library. So you can see here under imported content, we've got a few features. I'm going to show you all of those as well. So the Vevox question library, if you click here, the first thing you might notice is that it has a My Previous Questions section. And this is really handy. And again, I think it's kind of a recent feature. Basically, this is a list of all the questions you've ever written yourself in Vevox in any session at all. So maybe you've made a new session for a new year, but you want to use some of the same questions that you've used in other sessions. You don't have to export those or write them somewhere else or remember them and rewrite them again. They'll all be here. You can even just search for questions as well, and you can just then highlight that question and click Add Questions, and they'll add to your poll or to your quiz or wherever you're putting them. But then here we've got Vevox sample content. So this is the question library, and it has a bunch of different sections. We've still got a Christmas quiz here, which I would say is a little late now. But we've got my first meeting, icebreakers. So some of these might not be useful to you at all, but some of them might be. So there's like a training and learning one. So if you just quickly want to gauge how people are doing in the class, you could say, do you understand everything so far? So you don't have to type in that question, you can just find it there. You could also do a quiz, like a basic quiz if you wanted. There's town hall ones. And also this one might be handy, ad hoc ones. So just a true or false if you're saying something in the room and you want to do true or false and do it as a quiz question or something. So these might be useful to you if you want to quickly add questions. There's a bunch of sample content, but I also think that probably the thing you'll use the most is this My Previous Questions feature. And it's also handy if you're maybe converting poll questions that you did live into asynchronous questions. And I can show you what I mean by that a little later when we're looking at the AI stuff. So as I mentioned AI, I'm going to go on and talk about that now. So again, I'll just click add content and we've got an AI generated questions feature, which again is quite recent in Vevox. So if I click into it, you can see here, you add in a prompt and then you can add a number of questions to generate a number of choices per question. So they do only generate multiple choice questions. They don't do any of the other question types at this time anyway. And then you can also pick a difficulty. You also have a couple of options here on whether you have source material. So you can either do no source, clipboard. So that just means pasting in text from somewhere, or a text document. And I would strongly advise that you do use source material when you're using AI for creating quiz questions. Just means that it's much more likely to be accurate and it is coming from your own work, you know? So I would recommend that, or if you paste in something as well, and then they won't be asking random questions that you wouldn't expect as well. So I would recommend that. But just to demonstrate it, I'm not going to use a source for now. So I will just to test and we can see how it is. I'm going to do a question on something that I know a lot about, so I'm able to then review the questions. And I would say everybody should still really review the questions and the possible answers that come out of using this feature, because as you know, AI can hallucinate or it can get things wrong or maybe make it too easy or hard, depending. So it's worth you still need to review everything. So I'm just going to say quiz on using Vevox with students. And then I'm just going to do, since it might take a little while, I'll do 3 questions and 3 choices per question. And let's just do an easy one. And then click preview. And then I've tested this out before. It shouldn't take very long now for this type of question. So we'll just wait and see. how long it takes, and then we're going to review the questions and see if they're suitable. And if they're not, you can edit them as well. But if you're in doubt or if you're not sure, just don't use the questions, I would say. So here we are. We've got 3 questions here that it's generated for me, and I can regenerate as well if I'm not happy with it. The first question is, what is Vevox primarily used for in a classroom? And then you can see the 3 possible answers. So we've got to schedule field trips, to manage the school's finances, to conduct live polls and quizzes during class. So we know that's correct. I mean, maybe it's a slightly too easy question, but you can see that it is correct with that answer. And it's fine for this demonstration. Then we've got, well, which devices can students use to respond to Vevox polls? We've got only desktop computers, only voice through a microphone, or smartphones or laptops connected to the class code. Again, that's correct. So, and it has said it is correct, so we can leave that question in as well. Again, probably too easy. Then we've got what information is typically required for students to join a Vevox section. So we've got their social security number. That's very American, I would say. So I would change that if I was adding that. I would say PBS number or something. Then we've got a class code or join link, which is correct, and they've set that as correct. And then we've got a username and password for the school network, which we know is incorrect. So I would say I'm generally happy with those questions for what I asked for, you know. So I would say it's important for you to definitely review if you're going to use the AI feature for this. So I'll just click add questions, and then they're just added like any other questions that you use in Vevox. And as I said, if I just go into surveys as well, you can do the same thing with surveys. So if I click add question, it also has the question library and AI generated questions. Just to show you, as I mentioned earlier with the question library, those questions that I just made for the poll are also available to add in here into my question library, which is definitely handy. So I'm just going to add them there now because we'll be getting back to that later when I talk about scheduling. So then the next thing is importing questions from a file. So I'll just go back to polls here. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I click add content, there's an import from a file option here. So if I click that, basically you can import questions from an Excel file. So you just click download sample template, and then that will create a template for you. So if I just open that, so 1 second there, I'm going to open that template. And it's an Excel set template. So here we are. And basically, it's got 2 tabs. This is the tab where you'll put all your questions, and it's got a list of example questions in here. And this is explanatory notes. So this explains how to format this for it to come into Vevox correctly, basically. So you can see here in the example, cells marked in green are required fields for the question type. Cells marked in yellow are optional fields for the question type, and red are not relevant and will be ignored. So as we are running out of time, I'm not going to have time to really add extra questions and upload them, but I will edit one just to show you how that could look. So instead of word cloud, I could just, this one says, what are your favorite Olympics events? I could just say, what is your favorite meal? Just to show that that's going to look different when we upload it. And then I'll just click save. And then I'm going to go in, click add content again, and then click import from a file, and I've got upload file here. So you can see it supports Vevox zip files as well. That's if you export from Vevox and then import back into Vevox, but you're unlikely to need to do that. So I won't be showing that today. So I'll click upload file, and then I'm just going to find that file. Let me just go to downloads. Here we go, import, and here we go. What is your favorite meal? And it was a word cloud one, so there's no options there, but it has all the other questions that you saw. So as you can see, you can just edit that template, and then you're able to add as many questions as you want by using an Excel spreadsheet. So then the next thing is scheduling surveys and quizzes. So if I go back into the surveys tab here, and we have some questions on this survey already that I just imported or brought over earlier. And when you click on advanced settings on the survey, you can see that there's a schedule option. So if you click set a schedule, that means that the quiz will be the quiz or the survey, if it isn't quiz questions, will be available between a certain date and time, and then end at a certain date of time. As you can see, automatic open and close times without you having to click open quiz and close quiz at specific times. So if I just put in a start date today at this time, an end date this time, there we go. Then I can just click save, and then this you can see it automatically opened there without me clicking on that because the time that I selected was earlier than now. And then this will automatically close at the end of the time as well. So it'll be available between those times and then unavailable afterwards. And you don't have to remember to go back in and click close quiz. So that's definitely handy if you have something that has to be done within a certain time. And then finally, I'll just talk a little bit about the leaderboard, but I'm going to do that back in the slide. So 1 second here. So from current slide. So as we weren't doing a big quiz in this demonstration, I'm just going to show you a screenshot and explain what it is. So basically, if you do a quiz in your session, you can have a leaderboard. As this, you can use this whether people are anonymous or not. So if you have set your session to where people have to identify yourself, then you'd have a leaderboard with lists of people. And this screenshot is actually from the Christmas Vevox session that I happen to be at. So there I am on the leaderboard. Um, so then you'll see, Adam Abrams is #1 on that list. But even if it was an anonymous quiz, you'd still have a leaderboard where the person who is taking part in the quiz will see where their place is, but you won't see it on the leaderboard. It'll just be an unidentified person, if you get me. And all you have to do to show the leaderboard is that there's a button when you're going through quizzes that looks like a cup, and you just click on that, and then you can see the leaderboard basically. So that really is all of the hidden gems that I could find in Vevox. So what I'm going to do now is show you some supports that we have. So our help site has a bunch of help articles that you can use. So I'll be linking that to that after the session. So it'll show you how to do the basics of Vevox, but also cover some of these hidden gems as well. Then also we have a Canvas module that has a bit more interactivity in it, has some H5P in it, showing different things in Vevox, and it has some videos as well. It also has instructions on using H5P and ScreenPal as well, if you're interested in those tools. And also just to show what Vevox themselves have. So if I just go back in here, if you need more assistance, you can click the help icon in Vevox, and they have a bunch of options here, but I'm just going to click on the help center because with that AI feature as well, you might want to read sort of they have an FAQ on it. So if I type in AI here, we've got the Vevox AI quiz feature. You can click on that, and they've got an FAQ for AI. Click on that, and they've got like something on a data security statement and all these different things. But you can literally look up any feature in Vevox, and it'll be on there as well. So if you want a bit more information, you can go here too. And really, that's everything for today.